Loneliness and social isolation rates are on the rise. How is it affecting our health, and what can we do?
We'll discuss this today on Real Family Talk.
Today on Real Family Talk, we're taking a closer look at the loneliness epidemic, the rise of social isolation, and the real impact these are having on our health.
That's right. In a recent report by the World Health Organization, they found that 1 in 6 people worldwide experience loneliness. In the United States, that number is 1 in 3.
Loneliness and social isolation are not exclusive to any age. On the contrary, people of all ages, the elderly, teens, and middle-aged adults all experience it. Because it is so common, its effects are sometimes overlooked. However, research shows that though common, loneliness and social isolation can have some seriously adverse effects. Joining us today to explore this topic is Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel, Director of Health Ministries for the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists.
Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel is a physician. He co-founded the first academic lifestyle medicine fellowship in the United States and has served as a medical missionary in India, the Middle East, and Latin America. His experience spans administrative leadership within the U.S. government and denominational systems overseas, mission hospitals, lifestyle centers, and academic institutions, giving him a broad and practical understanding of global health and ministry. Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel, welcome to Real Family Talk.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, so this growing trend of loneliness and social isolation, can you differentiate between the two?
Yes. As a matter of fact, a lot of times people feel that they might be one and the same.
Right.
But they're really different and need to be differentiated.
Okay, that's important to understand.
Yes. Loneliness is a feeling that people have. It doesn't matter how many people are around them. They might still feel lonely. So this is a subjective activity. Yeah. Whereas isolation often involves the physical separation or one not having the kind of social contact and social connections that one would like to have or what we were made to have.
Right.
There is another concept which is seclusion. There's some people who are they choose to do this, and within that context too, there are two kinds of people. There's some people who are reclusive by nature. They enjoy and they feel much better when they are alone. They go for walks. They enjoy nature. These people usually have a few selective friends, and they are very comfortable.
And they may not necessarily be lonely.
Yes, they're not lonely, and they're doing fine.
Yeah.
Whereas there are others who choose that lifestyle. They become a loner, so to speak.
A hermit.
Yeah, because they've been hurt, or because they don't feel safe, or they don't feel that they fit in. Yeah. And this is a very dangerous.
Right. Is it also possible, can I just do a follow-up? Is it also possible, though, that they are actually being isolated from their community, that there might be people in their family or church community that
who
have
might shun them?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And that is part of the complexity of this, because even though each one individually, this is the loneliness or isolation, has its own set of effects, when you combine the two, now we have a whole, it just magnifies the effects that the person will experience.
So we live in a world that seems to have us connected, especially through social media. Is social media a way to be connected? Is this positive, or is it more harmful sometimes?
Okay. Again, it depends. So I'm not giving any definitive answer here because people are connected in different ways, in social media in different ways. Yes. Okay. So there are some people, I remember this story about this woman who had over 4,000
friends on social media.
I have 5,000.
Right? Okay. So you're well connected, right?
Yeah.
But connection does not really mean true connection. It does not mean community. And so when she was going through her issues, she had no one
that she
of those 4,000 that she could really relate to.
Yes.
Right. So she was isolated, even though she was connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's very interesting because one time, a long time ago, I saw someone say something on Facebook, like, I'll know who my true friends are if you respond to this post. And unfortunately, not that many people responded.
There you go.
And so are people relying on these devices or social media to get that social connectivity?
Yes.
And
yes.
So
some are trying, okay?
Yes.
They're trying to reach out, but it's a complex thing because your peers may not be interested in really knowing who you are.
Yes.
They only see the facade that you have.
They only want the facade.
They only want the facade, right? So if you really talk about something that is deep, you might get shunned. You might get ridiculed.
Yes.
You get put on a list.
Hence why someone might not respond to a post that says, if you're my true friend. It's like, well, wait a second, hold up. But that's not what I signed up for.
I didn't sign up.
Yeah, and you're putting me on the spot. You know, what do you mean? I mean, so you have some litmus test that's going to determine whether or not we're true friends. You know, and if you're looking for friendship this way, electronically, is it really real? You know, and is it going to work as it works, or it's supposed to work?
It's supposed to work.
Because here's the deal. Social media just came up, I mean, not long ago, and let's say 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, but some of the people on social media are older, and they haven't seen friends for 10 years, or 15 years, or 20 years. And all of a sudden, there are all these people who are connected, who haven't spoken to each other, who haven't talked, and they don't make real connections. They just want to stay on the surface and just say, "Hello, I see you there." You know, and so it becomes problematic if this is what you're depending on,
right,
to have real connection.
Now, what's interesting, I remember back when MySpace was the thing, right?
So you're taking us back.
Back a little while, right? There were people who were getting on MySpace and they were divulging all kinds of personal things about themselves, right?
Yes.
But they weren't looking for friends.
Yeah.
Right.
They were looking for affirmation.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They were looking for somebody to say, you're okay.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
Or I like it.
Yes.
You know, they're looking for likes.
And the likes, okay?
Right.
Yes.
So again, people are looking for different things, and therefore, even though they have all of these connections, they may actually be hurting and very lonely, and may not even feel that they are seen.
Right.
Well,
so we have to take a break.
Yes, we do. Yes, and when we return, we'll continue the discussion with Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel. We'll be right back. Today on Real Family Talk, we are sitting down with Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel as we discuss the very real epidemic of loneliness and social isolation that is sweeping across our society today.
Statistics show that loneliness and social isolation aren't just emotionally painful, they carry major health consequences. So, Dr. Zeno, tell us just how consequential is this loneliness to our health?
Well, loneliness can produce for the individual an increased risk of multiple kinds of diseases, right? Loneliness, the pattern of disease tend to be more mental,
right?
More emotional, but it also has some physical health consequences as well. Whereas isolation tends to have more physical consequences than the emotional ones.
So break that down a little bit for us.
Okay.
Right?
So someone who feels lonely, so the lonely person.
Right.
Okay. That person has an increased risk of anxiety and depression.
Right.
They even have an increased risk of developing dementia. Okay. Whereas the individual who is isolated, they tend to have more issues with cardiovascular disease, and they also have an increased risk of dementia as well.
Why is that? Why social isolation increases cardiovascular disease?
If we go backwards and we say, how were we created? We were created to be in community.
That's right.
All right?
Yeah.
And this decreases our stress. It increases the sense of support.
Yes.
Okay. And this has an effect on our immune system, so that our immune systems are working much better. We have a whole process called psychoneuroendocrinology, right? Where we use what we are thinking and how we are doing mentally actually affects our immune system, our endocrine system, and therefore they will affect our health.
So, some studies show that people who are lonely or experiencing loneliness have a heightened risk of death. Does connection have anything to do with that?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the increase in premature death is about 30% higher for people who are lonely or isolated compared to the rest of the public.
Is it that your immune system doesn't work as well, or having social interaction will increase your endorphins and your sense of feeling well?
Yeah, it does. And it provides the foundation, if you will, for our immune system to function more appropriately.
Right.
Our stress levels are usually less. Some people say, when I'm around people, I'm stressed. Okay. Well, yes.
When you have no people,
you're even more stressed. Okay. For the individual who does not want to be away from people for good reasons.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's interesting because the person who chooses not to be around people, why are they not at risk of having premature death or cardiovascular? Because they selected themselves so mentally.
Yes,
they are in a better place.
Because those people are not lonely.
Yeah, they're alone, but they're not lonely.
They're alone, but not lonely.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They are actually energized by the fact that they have some time to reflect,
decompress.
And to do whatever it is.
Especially those of us that are introverts. So I'm an introvert by nature. So I really value, I can spend several days alone. Of course, I'm married. So
is that what the issue is?
And maybe it wouldn't be so easy to spend several days alone because we work together. So, but let's say I could spend an entire day alone, and I'm fine. I don't feel lonely. But I do recognize that after that time, I do need people. So I get it that there's that difference between being alone versus being lonely.
Yes.
So what is leading to this loneliness now that we're seeing more than ever? In the past, maybe it was elderly people by themselves, but now we're seeing it across all developmental stages, right? So what's causing this? Where is this coming from?
We actually haven't been able to unpack all of these details to be able to say, here is this factor. We know it's multiple factors.
Right.
Right? Society is so complex, and people are feeling so unsafe that this causes people to be less likely to reveal themselves.
Yes.
But there's the other side of it. Even when you reveal yourself, if you're going to get lambasted and rejected, right now, that's going to hurt. So really, we have a cycle of pain, and people are responding to that pain in different kinds of ways. So some, because of their background, they will respond to their pain by withdrawing,
right?
And some will respond to their pain by becoming the life of the party, but it's all superficial.
Right.
There's nothing necessarily deep about that.
And you can be rejected. And when you get rejected, you have a low.
Yes.
And it's hard to come out of that funk.
Yeah. There are people who commit suicide because they feel unseen, unheard, unloved.
So the question I would like to ask: who is most at risk today for feeling lonely, or that sense of loneliness? Who's most at risk?
Well, we've seen that teenagers tend to be highly susceptible because they're looking for approval.
Yeah.
And if they sense rejection, or they sense that even though they're being seen, they're not really being seen.
Right. By their parents, by their friends,
peers, by the people who mean something to them.
Right.
This produces this kind of response. But elderly who one of the side effects of living a long life is that you outlive your friends.
Yes.
I've seen that happen.
Yes, we're watching that happen with some of our elders in our lives, as they're the last one left living. In fact, we got recently heard from an older friend that her last living, peer,
is gone.
Is gone.
Yeah.
So this affects them emotionally, and it affects them physically.
Yeah.
You were talking about being alone and being married.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, we came up with the idea, alone is Al one. So we are not alone when we're together, we're Al two.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Maybe I'll try that out with Elaine and see how it works.
Okay, see how it works.
Well, in marriage, there's a healthy, we
balance.
talk about a healthy balance of aloneness and togetherness, right? And we don't want them to get out of balance. Yeah. We don't want to get to the place where you're spending all this time alone, or you're just always together and you don't have time
on top of each other.
Enmeshed. But we also are seeing in marriage, and we have to go to a break soon, but I'll finish this point. We're also seeing more people in their middle age saying that they feel alone, even in the midst of marriage and childbearing. So we'll come back to that.
The conversation is good, but we have to go to a break. When we return, we'll continue talking with Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel about loneliness and social isolation. Stay with us.
We're back on Real Family Talk, discussing the realities of loneliness and social isolation with Dr. Zeno Charles-Marcel. Okay, so before the break?
That's right. Before the break, we've been talking about loneliness and isolation and how these have impact on people's lives. Higher rates of diabetes and hypertension?
Hypertension, diabetes, coronary artery disease.
And early death.
Early death and even some cancers.
Yeah. So how does all of this impact the brain? I'd like to know, because the brain is in control of everything. Yeah. And many of these processes have much to do with the neurobiology of what's taking place with the individual, so the brain.
So I mentioned earlier psychoneuroimmunology, psychoneuroendocrine immunology.
Yes.
How we think actually affects much of what's going on with us in our bodies.
And the Bible speaks about
that. And the Bible speaks about that.
Exactly. As a man thinketh
in his heart, so is he.
So is he.
Yes.
Yeah. So and a merry heart does good like a medicine.
Right. And so whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are pure, think on these things.
Yes. So we have a paradigm that is physiologically based. Okay. And what we ought to be doing is looking for ways to enhance the positive effects of what can be done, so that we don't fall into the slump of being overstimulated on the one hand or understimulated on the other.
Yeah. Right? So positive thinking.
Yes.
And the way we see the world, or the way we choose to relate to others. For example, and I'm just throwing this out because this is a part of the work that we do. When we're talking about marriage or family, and people can look at something and say, like, these children, these teenagers, I have to do this for them. You could look at your teenagers or your spouse and say, oh, I have to do this for them, or I get to do this for them. Yes. It's the glass that is half empty or half full.
Exactly.
Half full is, I get to do it. It's a privilege. So if you look at it as a privilege, then your brain is going to respond differently. And your entire anatomy is going to respond differently, yes?
So I like to look at it as our metabolic soup. All right? Depending on how we think and depending on what's going on in our environment, etc., all of these different interactions, they change the chemistry
The body chemistry.
In the body.
That is so true.
And so our cells are going to be bathed, and the brain cells as well, bathed in these chemicals that are influenced by physical external factors, emotional internal factors. And you put them together and we have this soup.
So these are like neurotransmitters?
Neurotransmitters, other chemicals, and even the things that we're exposed to. We call it the exposome. All of the chemicals that we're exposed to from the time we're born.
Yes.
Right? Some of them will have an effect on us.
Okay.
And over time, these things accumulate.
So for the person, though, who struggles, a child, a teenager, a middle-aged person, or elderly, they struggle in forming bonds. What do you recommend to this person? This person comes to you and says, I'm experiencing loneliness. It's now leading to depression. I have no friends. There's social isolation. How does someone get to the place where they can begin to form healthy relationships and bonds?
Well, sometimes people's perception, which is the loneliness perception, is not based on the fact that they're alone. Okay? So one of the things that we help people to do is to actually see what the objective reality is.
Right.
Okay? So you help people to do that, and using cognitive behavior therapy, for instance, helps people to undo some of their thinking. Their faulty thinking, right? So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, it might be real that they don't have people around them.
Yes.
Okay? And for most people, we'd say, you should be able to alter your environment to be able to do these things, but for some people it may not be. Okay,
they don't have the capacity.
They don't have the capacity to do.
You may need some medication.
Yeah.
Or something.
In fact, when I was doing my clinical training in therapy, I got a client who was retired, and he was struggling with loneliness. And so one of the interventions that we had, he said he had no friends and he didn't really get along with his family. So, I was new in the field and I was trying to think, what can I do? And I said, well, why don't you get up every day and go to the bookstore? He said he liked books. So go to the bookstore and have conversations with people. And so we worked on this for weeks, and it did help some, but it's an ongoing process. So it's very real for many people. So what I hear you saying, though, is that people may need to seek therapy.
They may need to seek therapy. They may need to put themselves out there.
In the care of
others.
Yeah.
So as people begin to get more socially connected, does it begin to mitigate some of the diseases that we spoke about?
Yes, which is the beautiful part of it, and which, if I can make a plug for your ministry in particular, right, is you have an opportunity to work with families and to work with families in the faith community, which is an antidote to loneliness and isolation, because you're creating. Let's say in a church setting, you're creating communities.
And a new reality.
A new reality.
A more positive environment. Where to flourish.
And hopefully, it's a safe environment. Because that's the other side of why people pull aside. Because they don't feel safe.
Right. Right. So it's important for our churches to be that safe place, which is what we're often saying to people. And also, we can be proactive in trying to identify people who might be experiencing loneliness.
And actually, it's not that difficult to be able to tell.
Right.
It's not that difficult.
It's not that difficult.
And see, the relationship between a community and connection and rejection or acceptance become, it's a spiritual issue as well, right? I remember years ago reading this book, Love, Acceptance, and Forgiveness. These are hard things for human beings to just naturally walk into. God has to impress us that these are things that we should be doing. And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't find it in every church assembly or congregation. So we have to foster that in the environment because it's helpful for everybody.
That's correct.
Right? Something that we know from neuroscience, and a friend of mine was the one who showed me this research. If I do something that is kind towards you, we know that will affect me, right? It will affect my brain because I'm being kind.
Yes.
What we found out is that if I am kind towards you, your brain also changes.
That's right.
Right? So when we do things in an altruistic way, when we do a loving thing, it's
healing
around.
for
it's healing
the
all
whole
around.
community.
It's healing all around.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zeno, for being with us today.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you for watching Real Family Talk. Join us again when we'll share more about strengthening families and inspiring hope. See you next time.